California has invested record amounts of funding toward homelessness in recent years, which has resulted in more people accessing shelters and decreases in the proportion of people who are unsheltered. But only homes end homelessness. And the state has never developed a comprehensive plan for its investments in housing for people who are without homes. For the state, the question is so big as to be omnipresent. California has the largest homeless population in the country, estimated in this report at 125,000 people. As housing costs in Los Angeles, San Francisco and other cities continue to rise, the problem will only grow worse. An estimated 240,000 households will experience homelessness over the next 12 years if trends continue. According to the California Homeless Housing Needs Assessment, California must invest $8.1 billion each year over the next 12 years to end the crisis. Discounting projected federal and state funding, the ask is $6.9 billion annually for the next 12 years, $80.1 billion in all, and then $4.7 billion per year after that. It's an arresting set of figures, but it reflects the scale of the crisis, the complexity of its causes, and the degree to which it has been neglected by local and state leaders. The causes of homelessness are complex. Factors like substance abuse, mental illness and physical disabilities play a role, as does dysfunction within institutions like hospitals, prisons and the foster care system. Federal housing subsidies mostly take the form of rental vouchers, and if landlords refuse to accept families with voucher, which is illegal in California but common nevertheless, the subsidies don't work. And the longer that cities and states refuse to permit new housing to be built, the higher the costs go. So part of the plan is to stop the bleeding by simply adding new homes. The assessment calls for building more than 112,500 new apartments per year at an annual cost of $5.7 billion over 12 years. Rental subsidies have also been found to reduce the risk of homelessness. The analysis calls for vouchers or other forms of support for some 225,000 families over 12 years, at a cost of $1.8 billion per year. Then there are supportive services and treatment for chronically homeless people in order to keep them in their homes. That would cost $488 million annually, benefiting some 63,000 Californians with disabilities. Finally, interim solutions such as shelters and motel vouchers are necessary to help people as they await housing. This temporary assistance would cost a total of $630 million and help an estimated 32,200 people. While the numbers are jarring, California's resources are significant. The Golden State is likely to pass Germany as the world's fourth largest economy. The housing needs assessment figure of $8.1 billion is less than 3% of the state budget, or 0.25% of the state's economic activity, an investment that would be well worth it, say the report's political supporters. The report's authors say the state and federal governments will already be spending $1.2 billion annually on addressing homelessness, so there is a gap of $6.9 billion needed to solve the crisis, which many consider to be the most pressing in California. The last official one-night count of homeless people in California, taken earlier this year, put the total at 171,521, or an outsized 25% of the nation's total, and a 6% increase since 2019. It's the number one issue in the minds of lots of Californians, including many policymakers and, of course, the thousands of people experiencing homelessness, CSH Western Regional Managing Director Debbie Tila told The Chronicle. It's a crisis. But now that we actually know what it will take, we can move toward solving it. San Francisco's spending on homelessness has mushroomed to more than $600 million a year. And last month the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness announced that, largely through extra attention by the Department of Veterans Affairs, the one-night national total of unhoused veterans has fallen 55% since 2010. There is a lot of political will right now, Tila said. This is solvable. Many reports have addressed the crisis statewide and locally, including a study released last year by the Bay Area Council that concluded it would take $11.8 billion to create enough shelter and housing to put roofs over all 35,000 unhoused people in the Bay Area, a number that swelled to 37,000 this year. And that's just using the one-night counts, which don't take into account the year-round reality that would come in much higher. But this latest study drills in deeper with more specifics statewide than others, and the information at least determines some quantifiable targets for improvement. The report projects that 239,963 more California households will fall into homelessness over the next 12 years. Among the suggestions it makes, although support and shelter services are a necessary part of the equation, creating permanent housing for marginalized people is what will ultimately cure the crisis, she said. The main way to solve homelessness is through housing, she said. She pointed out that research shows California is short by 1 million affordable and available housing units alone for extremely low-income renters, those making less than 30% of area median income. By shrinking that deficit, we will reduce homelessness, she said. There is no magic here, and it will take a sustained investment by federal, state and local governments to do it.